8:30, as the Revs will be in action tonight here on the Sports Hub, battling for a playoff spot, as you heard right there from Big Jim in the headlines. Houston will be the team that they take on tonight, so we got you covered until 8:30. We're here, 617-779-0985. We're on YouTube as well. Just go to youtube.com/985 The Sports Hub. It's real easy to do. I like to grab the remote and just hit that little speaker button and go youtube.com/985 The Sports Hub. Boom. And then it pops right up on your television. It's as easy as that. So we actually have a full show tonight. And we'll have a special guest coming up at about 7:20, so you don't want to miss that as well. I'll tease that one for you. Basketball fans, I think, would be really happy to hear that one. But it's Patriots and Dolphins week. There's Bruin stuff. We covered the game last night, and there's more news today. So there's a little bit of Celtics stuff as well. And a certain Celtics now starting to get a little bit of publicity where some people said that he wasn't marketable. We'll get into that. Those are pretty much the three topics of the night. So, again, the phone number here is 617-779-0985. But a big blow to the Patriots today as they found out they have lost David Andrews for the season. You could argue that he was the team MVP before even playing a single game this year. He didn't play any preseason games. The team knew how valuable David Andrews was. And to me, although I don't think he's the greatest lineman, I think he's a fine center. If you know his story, he was a captain at Georgia, undrafted, and just turned into this really just solid offensive lineman. And a really good center and a good dude. Good human being, leader, right? One of the leaders of the team, one of the captains. Sets everybody up on the line. I mean, when it comes to the offensive line, everyone knows it's bad. Nobody ever says that David Andrews was the problem. Never. And I was actually curious this offseason if he was going to come back or not. And then I saw that they gave him a new deal with some guaranteed money. And I'm sure that will get you back. I like money. That will get you back. But he is now out for the season. And quite frankly, this is a devastating loss for the New England Patriots. Not often do I say an offensive lineman impacts your season. This one, it's a big one. I think you could argue he was the team MVP this year before even playing a game. And today at practice, they saw Nick Leverett barely out there, who's now the backup, who's not even really a center, but he's played it before, and Layden Robinson. They have a rookie named Brian Hudson. Imagine that. An undrafted rookie could be playing center this week for the New England Patriots. And Michael Jordan's now back in the fold. This could alter a lot of things for the Patriots, but you know what else it could alter? The plans for Drake May and when he'll play. A lot of people thought he was on track to start sooner than later. I think this now pushes things back. If you go back to the preseason, May barely took any snaps from David Andrews at practice, at camp. He was always working with somebody else. So some may say that's a good thing. One thing that Andrews could really help with was setting up a line, especially for a rookie quarterback. And to me, I think this pushes back Drake May playing. I think it pushes it back. But Gerard Mayo did talk to the media today. He says the Patriots knew that they would take their lumps this season. But now it calls for the Patriots. And he calls, what happened against Cincinnati unsustainable. Duh. You rush for 170 yards and then at 185 the next day, in the next game. It wasn't sustainable. When you look at the Patriots, they rank 31st in the NFL in points per game at 13. Guess where the Dolphins rank? 32nd. The Dolphins average 11.3 points per game this season. When you look at yards per game, The Dolphins average 285. It's 26th in the NFL. The Patriots, 238, last. First downs per game. The Dolphins get you 16. The Patriots, 14.8. Points per game, I already mentioned. Pats 13, Dolphins 11.3. I'm telling you this weekend, the total for the game is 35.5. It's the lowest in the NFL this season. This thing's going to be a slugfest. It is going to be slow and ugly. But it's the way the Patriots can win. It might be one of the only ways this Patriots team can win. Just to give you some betting notes on that, unders this season with totals under 40 points are 7-3. The Patriots struggle to score over 16 points. Their defense struggles not to give up 20 or more. They've done it once. But just the history of these two teams. The Dolphins are 3-2 straight up their last 5 in New England. Prior to that, they were 2-16 straight up on the road playing in New England. I talked about home field advantage. There's been none. This is a chance for the Patriots to win a game. This is a winnable game. This game opened to pick 'em. The Patriots are now favored going into this weekend. In home divisional underdogs, the first 4 games of this regular season are winning at 60%. And this year, they're 3-0-1 against the spread. All those things point towards the Dolphins. Their quarterback is Tyler Huntley. I don't know. Did we hear anything about Odell Beckham Jr.? I don't know if he's going to be in the mix. I know that they at least thought maybe he'd be at practice. Maybe he can come back at some point. I think this is such a winnable game. But when you look at the Patriots now losing David Andrews, without Kyle Duggar, they've already lost Juwan Bentley. Are they going to get any reinforcements this week like a Kendrick Bourne or Taki Taki? This is such a winnable game, but it was such a big blow losing David Andrews. What does that now do to the offensive line for the New England Patriots? And without him, and how bad Miami is at scoring and even defense for that matter, and Mike McDaniel, who's been horrible this year, I still give the Patriots the advantage this weekend. How do the Patriots attack the Dolphins? We'll get into that coming up on the other side. Once again, the phone number 617-779-0985. We'll get into some Bruin stuff as well. The Davante Adams sweepstakes. Do people want to see him with the Patriots? What team do you think he will end up going to? I know he gave out a couple of names today as well. And a decision a player made about a season or two ago. Was it the right decision? We'll get into that coming up as well. And there is another Tom Brady story as well that I did want to get into tonight. So once again, 617-779-0985. We're on YouTube as well. You can join the chat. Again, youtube.com/985 The Sports Hub. You can chat in. I know there's a bunch of guys in there already, so feel free to join the show. Skaz is here. We got our intern, Joe, as well. I'm Joe Murray here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
I'm not an absolutist, but I would say that it's pretty close to being a lost season at this point. Could Tua come back and put them back into the equation? Because clearly when he's out there, they're a completely different team. Yeah, maybe, but I don't expect that to be the case. Mike McDaniel, though, is being exposed here a bit, Tony. He's 1-6 now without Tua Tagovailoa, and I know that not too long ago we were talking about how much better Tua has been with Mike McDaniel. That also remains true. Those two guys need each other. But Mike McDaniel looks a little bit more naked, I believe, at the moment. And the roster, like, I've never understood it, even with Tua, certainly now without it. In the NFL, 60 quarterbacks played last season, Tony. Like, you need a good backup quarterback, especially when you have a quarterback with Tua Tagovailoa's injury history. And their offensive line has been atrocious for several years, even with Tua at the helm. And Tua gets the ball out fast enough to kind of mask some of that stuff. But the roster construction, beyond the Mike McDaniel issues and the cutesy stuff he likes to do on offense that doesn't work when you don't have Tua, man, the roster construction has been flawed for a while, too.
All right, back here at 98.5, the Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. That was George Sedano. We got a chance to meet him during the NBA Finals last year using one of our Beasley Media studios here. And that was his take on what's going on with the Miami Dolphins. I started the show saying that David Andrews arguably could have been the MVP for the New England Patriots just because of where the offensive line was. I'm not kidding. I really do think he was, going into the season, the MVP. They needed, when I say most valuable, they couldn't afford anything to happen to him, and now here it is. I don't think it's going to be good. I don't think the Patriots are going to be able to fix their offensive line this year. But I do think this Sunday they can beat the Miami Dolphins. Now, they're going to have to make it simple. And it's fine. Just tell the other team you're going to run. If you go unbalanced this week, don't get cute when you're unbalanced on the right and run it left. Like, it doesn't work. If you have a bunch of fat guys on one side, you run to the way the fat guys are. That's the one thing I despise about Alex Van Pelt at this time. He's trying to trick everybody. He does no motion at all. It's actually terrible to watch. So I've already said my piece on Jacoby Brissett. I think he's a guy who tries not to turn the ball over and takes too many sacks, but in the end, he's a losing football player. He's a losing football player. And people love him because he doesn't turn the ball over, but then he'll throw you a pick six. The trajectory for him is the same exact as last year for Mac Jones. Mac Jones played well early on, then the hits kept coming, and he broke. Now, I'm not saying Jacoby Brissett isn't tough or any of that. Is he broken? We'll find out. He got the vote of confidence last week with all the Drake May is going to be ready stuff. I didn't think that was about Drake May. I thought it was about Brissett playing better. They did somewhat end the second half, scoring some points. And, for this team that really doesn't do much to begin with offensively, I guess you have to take that as some positives going into the next week. I don't know what the Dolphins can take positive from their loss. They're playing on a short week. Tyler Huntley was terrible. They have injuries. Tyreek Hill was yelling on the sideline. Their coach doesn't know what to say. And I was just sitting here telling you that I thought David Andrews was the MVP of the Patriots. Is there any question that Tua Tagovailoa should be in the MVP conversation in the league? What has happened to the Miami Dolphins without Tua? By the way, I'm sure you all remember, Tua Tagovailoa owned the Patriots. Whether it was in Miami or in New England, he always won. There were always those third down plays, the RPOs, out of the pistol. Tua owned the Pats. Whatever Belichick threw at him, he could figure it out. And how he beat him was with his legs at times. So that's the only real issue I have this week for the Dolphins is the way that the Patriots are overrunning plays. Josh Uche, the way that he just overruns plays. What if Huntley can slip by him for a big run? Besides that, I don't know how they're going to throw downfield. They still have Waddle. They still have Hill. The Patriots defense hasn't been great. It's actually almost bottom 5 in the league. If you really want the numbers, it's not good. But how do the Patriots attack the Miami Dolphins? They have to run the football. Let me give you these numbers. These are the Dolphins this year. The 1 or 2 games with Tua. The rest of them were without Tua. So their run defense, week 1, they gave up 128 yards to the Jaguars, but they hit on a big play down the sideline to Tyreek Hill, and then had another big play to set up a game-winning field goal. So they gave up 128 in week 1. Against Buffalo, they gave up 100. Against Seattle, they gave up 100 on the ground. And then last week to the Titans, 142. If I'm Alex Van Pelt, you don't do anything else besides run the football on the Dolphins. They're without Phillips. They're without some of their key players. You run the football. You're at home. You don't try to get cute. You don't try a play action. You run the ball. Speaking of running the football, Gerard Mayo says he's definitely under consideration putting Antonio Gibson in as a starter this week over Ramondre Stevenson because he's fumbled in his first 4 games. I'm in on that. Antonio Gibson was a 1,000-yard rusher with Washington years ago. He says he's super prepared. And I know people think of him somewhat as a third down back. No, this guy can run between the tackles. They got Brian Robinson from Alabama, and that's why he lost the role. That's why. I still think this guy can run. The other thing I like about Gibson, if you watch the way that he runs the ball, I don't want to get too analytical on you here, but he holds it to protect it just like Tiki Barber did. In Tiki Barber's career early on, he would fumble. He learned a different way to hold the ball. I think Gibson runs with that kind of speed. He also has a little bit of wiggle and can really get outside once he hits the hole. I almost think he's faster than Ramondre Stevenson at times, but he really is a good change of back if you want the power with Stevenson. I'm not saying go away from Stevenson, but why not see what you have, when it comes to Gibson, to see if he can give it a little bit of a spark. I would do it, and Bill Belichick would have done it a long time ago. But those rushing numbers, the Dolphins give them up. They're big plays. I want the Patriots to continue to run the football. Can Alex Van Pelt get a little bit more creative? These are some numbers that I looked up just around the league. I wanted to see how teams were when it came to motion. So the NFL is running motion at about 26% per snap. And the Patriots are dead last in the league with motion. They run it 8% of the time. So if you suck and you can't block and you can't run on short yard situations like you have, you got to get creative. If you look at a stat when it comes to motion and you're last in the league, you need to change that. 26 is the average. You're 8. That's on Alex Van Pelt. That needs to change. Here's another thing on the Dolphins that I thought was fairly interesting. The Dolphins are the first team since the Browns that went 0-16, that was back in 2017, to have 0 offensive plays with a lead. It hasn't happened since 2017, and by the way, it was the worst team, an 0-for team. The Dolphins are struggling with their offensive line. In the first 4 games this year, they have 7 false starts, 6 illegal formations, 5 illegal shifts, 1 illegal motion. And this is without Tua Tagovailoa, who runs the pistol in motion. And just yards per game, they're 27th. Completion percentage, 25th. But when you look at the Patriots' defense, not as good as you may think. Christian Gonzalez has some great numbers, and PFF will tell you he's the best cornerback in the league. Overall, do I think Gonzalez has done a good job? Yes. Has he gotten beaten on a few balls? Mm-hmm. Does he go up against the top guy week in and week out? Yes. I personally like the matchup of Jonathan Jones on Tyreek Hill. If you look at the numbers, Jones has always played well against Hill. I don't know if Tyler Huntley can take advantage of that. So Personally, I would go Gonzalez on Waddle. I don't know how they figure that one out. But they also have an interesting running game, too, when it comes to the Dolphins. And this kid, A-Chain, can really do some things out of the backfield. And with the Patriots in their linebacker situation right now, do they have the guys that can cover out of the flat? I don't know at this point. I don't know. But Mostert's been out for a bit. Jalen Wright can do a few things. Jeff Wilson also. I think that the Dolphins are going to have to get creative as well. But if they're going to run, I think it's going to be with their quarterback. Skaz, I know we've talked about this before, but I mentioned David Andrews, the MVP of the Patriots. Is Tua Tagovailoa the MVP of the Miami Dolphins?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to feel any other way than Tua's their MVP. Just look at how they look with Tua and how they look without him.
But Tua stinks. Tua can't do anything. Blah, Tua. Yeah. He's out. And McDaniel looks like worse than Matt Patricia. By the way, Patricia's better than Van Pelt and Bill O'Brien and whatever. They're all suspect. But just to throw it out there, Tua Tagovailoa, what everybody says about him, looks like he's pretty valuable, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, one thing that I've been thinking about this week going into the game is that both of these teams have more than enough reason to quit. You look at the Dolphins and their offense, Tyreek Hill, Waddle, the frustration there, no quarterback. We know Tyreek Hill off the field and on the field can be a problem at times, and it's just, I think this is a huge week for Gerard Mayo. Huge week.
Because McDaniel is already got a built-in excuse. He's already under fire where Mayo can make the move at running back and replace, right? He can make these changes through a week of adversity. And I say at home, they have to get off the schneid this week.
You're facing a Dolphins team that's reeling. They don't have a quarterback. Tyler Huntley's okay. He's serviceable, I guess, but it's an indictment on McDaniel too that they look the way they do with a guy like Tyler Huntley. I know we joke around about the Mac Jones Pro Bowl. Tyler Huntley has a Pro Bowl in the same sense that Mac Jones did. So yeah, for me, this is a huge Mayo week because this is a very winnable game. If you are well coached, if you are prepared, you should beat this Dolphins team. If you can get your team to buy in more than Mike McDaniel can get his team to buy in, which I think is a pretty low bar from what I've seen from the Dolphins without Tua. I don't think that locker room is feeling Mike McDaniel as much as the NFL media was in the offseason where he gets touted as Miami Mike, the next great offensive genius. So for me, this is a big Mayo week because both of these teams have a plethora of injuries. It's been ugly. It's been a grind. Can Mayo get these guys to keep grinding, to grind out a win against a bad football team, a team that's not good against the run, something the Patriots are good at? So I think if the Patriots come out flat and look bad, that is a really bad sign for Gerard Mayo.
I think there is still more talent on the Dolphins. Like when I look at it on paper, I think there's more talent on Miami.
Yeah, especially offensively. I don't think there's even a debate there. They have an all-planet player in Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle, who's the number 2 there, would easily be your number 1. I know their backfield's a little banged up, but a ton of explosive players. So can the Patriots just get a game plan? Can Alex Van Pelt come up with a game plan to run the ball?
Guys, we don't need Alex Van Pelt. You and I. We just go out there, run the ball. Run it again.
Run the damn ball.
Run it again. And then run it again. If you want to get cute, maybe you can do a little halfback toss. Something like that. I don't know. Maybe an option, but I don't know. Don't throw the ball anymore and run it. It's pretty easy. We could run this thing. And just to give you the names that are out for Miami, for those who don't know, Jalen Phillips, David Long, Kendall Fuller, Jordan Poyer, all those guys are hurt. Ramsey's not going to come up in the running game. Are you kidding me? Run on these guys. Run on them. You don't have talent. You can't make big plays. Run on them. Everyone else in the league has run for over 100 against them. I don't care what Pop Douglas does on the field or what Jalen Polk wants or who wants the football. Keep it simple, stupid. Run. Run. And you're right. It's a big week for Gerard Mayo. He's got to take over the locker room again. He's got to face the adversity of all these injuries that are going on, and he needs to tell Alex Van Pelt to run the football. Coach Joe over here with Skaz. We're here until 8:30 tonight. We got to get to the headlines. I'm Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
All right, Patriots do take on the Dolphins this week. And while the injury report's out, so let's get you the Patriots injury report. And I know they added a couple of guys to their practice squad today as well. But Kyle Duggar, Caden Wallace, David Andrews.
He's ticking down, and a save made by Bussey to pad his stats on not a real eventful night for him, as that was just shot number 14, but he and the Bruins will take a 4-1 win in their final home preseason game of the year.
All right, back here in 98.5, the Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. We're with you guys till 8:30 tonight. We got Revolution Soccer, so somewhat of a short show for us. That was the final call last night of the preseason game against the Philadelphia Flyers at the Garden. Ryan Johnson, Bob Beers on the call. Just a couple of notes from last night's performance. Very good performance. You saw pretty much the whole roster with a few guys that are still trying to make the team. They got a goal from Justin Brazeau. I like to call him Brazzers. He got a goal last night. Tyler Johnson, a veteran. You guys remember him from Tampa Bay over the years and has been in Chicago the last couple of years. 34 years old, but he's on a PTO. And had a hell of a goal on a beautiful pass from Pavel Zacha last night. Right in front of the net. It was beautiful. And then you saw Kostelic, or Kastelik, whatever you want to call it. He had an empty netter, but had 4 shots on net. Big boy. Fourth line center. This team's deep again. There might be a couple of holes there. They're still trying to figure out what's going to happen on that right wing. They sent down Fabian Lysell and Georgi Merkulov, so who's now going to take that spot? And Brazeau scored on the third line. Tyler Johnson, again, scored. They got all secondary scoring last night. That's what this team needs. But I'm big on Tyler Johnson. I don't know how they're going to work it out. There's a bunch of names that are still there. You know, they get the Patrick Browns and guys like that. And, you know, just they have a bunch of guys that they need to figure out what they want to do with. I'd keep Tyler Johnson. He's a guy who can score and make plays. He can play center and wing. He's a veteran at 34. He's going to cost you nothing. Keep him around. Keep him around. Charlie Coyle lit the lamp last night on an empty netter. Zadorov looked much better in this performance. He had an assist, had a couple of blocked shots as well. Big boy out there. Liked his performance last night. I also like what I saw from Peak. Had, I believe, 5 shots on net. The defenseman had, 31 shots I saw last night on net? Something to that degree. I'm going to look that up. But they certainly want to get more offensive, especially from their defensive players. But the big news or the big story was Brandon Bussey bouncing back last night. He struggled in his first start against New York, gave up the 4 goals, and really just kind of let the game was out of hand at that point. But only faced 14 shots last night. He was certainly pressured. Didn't face a lot of pressure, but Bussey's 6'5". He's a big boy. And held his ground last night. Jim Montgomery thought Bussey was really good. It was a good lineup they played. Thought he played much better than the original start and thought he was moving well and was aggressive. So Bussey has yet to appear in an NHL regular season game, but it looks like he's going to be with the big club. Today, though, they make a move. And I believe it's Yuri Patera is the guy that they're bringing in from Vegas. Had a little bit of a cup of coffee with Vegas. He's played 6 games at the NHL level. But today they claimed him off waivers. He's 25 years old. Appeared in 25 games last year in the AHL. Won 11-10 with a 2.99 goals against, but 6'3". He's got a pretty decent career record. I know it's under 500, but his goals against is really what you care about in the save percentage. So now they bring in another guy, which brings up the question. They're now prepared to go into the season, and they already were when they announced Korpisalo as the starter, but now they're adding another goalie to the mix. Maybe this means that things are going to go a little bit longer now when it comes to Jeremy Swayman. And Elliot Friedman today speculated on Swayman's future. says he isn't sure Swayman will accept the 8 years, $8 million, and thinks he's still holding out for anywhere between $8 to $9 million. He wonders if Swayman would be able to put his emotions aside and move forward on an 8-year deal. The emotions are high right now, and they need to cool off. And I'm glad that Skaz pushed back on me a little bit last night. That's why we need you here, Skaz. Because if I'm just here blabbing all day, I got nobody to push back on me, But I originally didn't like what Cam Neely did. I didn't like that he brought up 64 million reasons. Doesn't mean it's money, but I took it as that. And then when the agent comes out and says, we've never gotten that offer at all, and I don't do things through the media. There's certainly been a lot of things Jeremy Swayman has done through the media. So as much as I wanted to kind of get on Sweeney, I'm always player. I'm always team player in these situations. Had to think back to that Mark Lewis podcast. Talking about his contract and his feelings and his business school. Brad Marchand didn't like that, the captain of the team. So, yes, I have turned a corner on this one. If anything, the Bruins are the ones who's paid everybody. And now they want to spread things through the media that they're being cheap and they're not. I'm not buying this one. I have now turned. I am Team Neely, Team Seabass on this one.
I'm happy to have you on the right side of history, Joe. And yeah, just a little bit more on that is Elliot Friedman did his 32 Thoughts podcast today, and he speculated. He said that he's not sure Swayman will even accept 8x8, the $8 million for 8 years, and thinks he's still holding in the high $8 to $9 million range. If Swayman could put his emotions aside and move forward on an 8-year deal, said emotions are high and they need to cool off. And he also mentioned that at the Board of Governors meetings, a very, very secretive guy pulled him aside and said Neely and Boston felt these conversations had become too public, and they have felt they needed to send a message. And this is the transcript from it, but Friedman said, I'll tell you one thing one guy said to me I thought was really interesting. He said, this is why, and this is one of the more secretive guys in the league, very, very secretive guy, they say. So if you follow the NHL, you probably have a good idea of who this is. Someone that worked for the Islanders for a long time would be my guess. He sought me out and pulled me aside, and he said, this is why I don't tell you guys anything. This got too public. Look at what's happening. And he feels that the reason Neely did what he did was because it got too public. The Bruins felt they were getting pummeled, so he was out there to make a point. And there's no question that the media conference the Bruins had with Jacobs, Neely, and Sweeney, and Jim Montgomery up there was a coordinated thing. They had a plan, and they got to their plan. So you know what I said to the guy? But that's not where we're going right now. So the Bruins, it was calculated, and I think it was the right move. I know we're often team player, especially on this show. We tend to lean team player, but I mean, Swayman's camp had been talking all offseason. You mentioned the Mark Lewis podcast, but the Spit and Chicklets guys, spitting up on yourself, whatever they want to call it over there, they've been having reports about Swayman all summer. And where do you think that's coming from? We talk about being player-friendly. I think they're probably, and they say it themselves, one of the more team-friendly podcasts going in all of sports. You don't think they're getting that directly from Swayman or Swayman's agent? So Swayman's been talking all offseason about setting the market, being the guy, getting paid. I think if you're the Bruins, this is almost something they were forced to do. Swayman forced their hand by going public and not signing to this point. And we've learned that Louis Gross, Swayman's agent, this is kind of his MO as he drags these things along. He was Torrey Krug's agent, another guy the Bruins struggled to get a deal done, ended up not getting anything done with. So if you're a Bruins fan, I think being frustrated with the Bruins is one thing, but it's not the Bruins' fault. You should be frustrated with Jeremy Swayman and Jeremy Swayman's agent as well.
Wow, guys getting more info there that this was calculated from the Bruins. They were upset. That's why Sweeney was so sensitive. Sensey Sweeney. Now he's got a reason.
And now we're getting sensitive Swayman.
Now we're getting Sensey Sway. Sensey Sway doesn't like that it's a business. Oh, but they brought me to arbitration. Yeah, but they're giving you $64 million, bro. And you're complaining about it? Ooh, I wonder how this one's going to end. The Devontae Adams sweepstakes. What's going on there? We'll talk about that coming up next. I'm Joe Murray here on the Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
right, back here at 98.5, the Sports Hub. I'll here till 8:30 tonight. Shorter show. We get the Revs coming up at 8:30. I wanted to just talk about the Davante Adams sweepstakes. Obviously, he's wanted out of Oakland for a long time now. But the Jets and Cowboys are among the teams monitoring the situation. I believe he said that the Jets and the Saints were the two teams that he's interested in. It was just announced that he's going to miss this week's game. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. So if someone does trade for him, he's going to miss a week or two for that. The Pittsburgh Steelers are interested. That was one of the teams I mentioned last night. I know that they were really in on the Brandon Ayuk thing. So now Davante Adams becomes available. Just to kind of set the table on this one, the Patriots should go nowhere near this guy, and it's not because of his ability. It's the simple fact that he's 31 years old. He's going to be 32 in December, and they have to take on a huge salary. Now, the Pats have the money, but do you want a guy on this team that, I understand that Drake May probably needs some sort of premier target, but Davante Adams, not the right guy here. So your dream of the Patriots getting Davante Adams, out. Not going to happen. I think it's the Jets. I think the Cowboys are involved. The Saints have some cap issues, which is why they had to move on from a bunch of guys, but I don't know. I wonder where Buffalo is on this and where are the Chiefs? Where are those two teams? And it is Dolphins week. I can't help but think of Tyreek Hill, who just signed this huge deal. But if you had between Tyreek Hill and Davante Adams, I think it's Hill all day. But for a short span, Adams on a 2-year deal with a team that's competing, no brainer. So if I'm the Chiefs, 3rd-round pick, you take on the salary. If you're Buffalo, you might have to beat out the Chiefs. It's the Jets or nothing. I feel like this Jets, Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams thing is just literally teed up for him. And now you throw in the hamstring injury. But I wonder if there is a sleeper in this one. I know Skaz mentioned Washington last night. That could be an interesting team. Pair him with a young quarterback. But the odds are out there. Jets are the favored. Cowboys are in that situation as well. Ravens. Skaz, you feeling different today about anything here? I still feel like the Jets are the front runner.
It does feel like the Jets are the front runner. Diana Rossini had a tweet. You mentioned it. The Steelers are now linked to him. I think that's an interesting one. Just a team that, if Pickens, for some reason, all the talent in the world, looks the part, but just hasn't quite hit it off as much as Pittsburgh would like. Maybe you get Davante Adams that opens coverages up for him a little bit. So I think that's an interesting move. But I don't know. Davante Adams, he's hurt already. He's not going to play this week. They're telling teams that are going to trade for him it could be a couple weeks because of the hamstring. So it's, I don't know. Davante Adams, I feel like the only way you do it is if you are the Chiefs or the Bills or somebody that is a legit contender.
The only thing with the Chiefs is they're not going to, would the Raiders trade in their own division?
Yeah, so that's why I don't see that happening. That's why I have a tough time with the Hill rumors too and possibly going back there. It's like, I don't know, the AFC, I almost think you have to trade them out of division, out of conference. So the Steelers, I guess, kind of makes sense, but a 31, almost 32-year-old Davante Adams with a hamstring injury, I'm not breaking the bank for that. And if I'm him, I only really want to go to a contender, or else he's just going to be in the same exact place that he is now, on a bad team with a questionable quarterback.
This is what I would do. If I'm the Jets, I trade Hassan Reddick and a 3rd-round pick to the Raiders for Davante Adams and like a 5th-round pick. Get Reddick out of there. Both guys are unhappy in their situation. Just swap them, flip-flop picks, call it a day.
That Hassan Reddick thing is so perfectly Jets, too. They make a trade,
and they
bring in a talented player, and he hasn't showed up for anything. Has he ever been to the facility? Like it's just one of the most Jet stories ever. The team's supposed to be good, competing for something this year. A great player that can get pressure on a quarterback. Not interested in playing for Aaron Rodgers in the New York
I'll take
Jets.
the fines.
Yep,
I'll take the fines.
I saw something like he's lost $1 million pretty much in fines already.
Yeah, I'll imagine taking $1 million out of your paycheck than playing for the Jets.
No thanks. Yeah.
Oh, that's where we're at now. Who knows? Jets could get Devontae. Does it put him over the top? Because I know that there's obviously Lazard, him. There'd be something there. Still think the defense is where they might have some issues. But your thoughts on that at 617-779-0985. We'll get to the headlines here. We'll give you the scores going on in Major League Baseball. I took every team that won last night to sweep today. So if I already want to know. Royals are up right now, so I'm hoping on that one. And then we get the 2 nightcaps tonight if you want to follow along. There's somebody in the mainstream. Someone once said this person couldn't be mainstream. We'll tell you who that is, but first, let's get to the Sports Hub headlines.
WBZ-FM and HD Boston.
Patriots!
From the opening kickoff to the final play.
Touchdown!
Your home of the past.
Yes.
98.5. The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
All right, Patriots preparing for the Dolphins this Sunday, but they're going to do it without David Andrews, who is expected to miss the rest of the season with a shoulder injury. Got Major League Baseball in action right now. Earlier today, it was the Tigers. So they won the series 2-0 over the Astros with a 5-2 win today. Royals up 2-1 right now. Top of the 7th inning. Mets and Brewers at 7:30. Braves and Padres. They'll have first pitch tonight at 8:30. And the Revolution are in action tonight. They're battling for a playoff. And all the coverage begins here at 8:30 versus the Houston Dynamo. Headlines, they are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Joe Murray. Your next update is in 30 minutes.
Listen to it. Laugh at it. Get mad at it. Agree with it. Argue about it. It is Boston Sports. Boston Sports. And it is all we do. 98.5. The Sports Hub.
Derek White ambles out, sets the screen. Jalen moves to his right against Hardaway. Switches to the left hand. Pulls up at 19. Got it! Big shot after big shot after big shot by Jalen Brown here in Game 3. Boston by 4. 55 seconds to go.
Getting ready for some exhibition games this Friday with the Denver Nuggets. So we'll be able to get our first look at the Celtics, the new look Celtics, the defending world champion Boston Celtics. And of course, they open up October 22nd against the New York Knicks. The new look New York Knicks with Karl Anthony Towns in the fold. We wanted to mention this last night, but Skaz, yesterday was a big anniversary for the Celtics, a big trade happened. We want to remind the people what happened a year ago yesterday.
Yes, a year ago last night, one Drew Holiday was traded to your Boston Celtics. Just a minor move that didn't impact much at all, Joe.
The energy shifted that day. Milwaukee knew. They're like, bro, we ain't got it.
I think that was a mistake by the Milwaukee Bucks by letting him go to Portland.
Horrible. For Damian Lillard. By the way, did you hear that those two did not work out? Giannis, and not once this summer did you hear that they worked out?
I saw that Giannis was the one that said it too, right? Or
yeah.
Giannis was like, yep, didn't see Dame all summer. Didn't work out one time together.
That's not true with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum.
It's not true.
And Tatum was in Paris for half of it, while Brown was in his pool doing those crazy exercises. By the way, ripped. Jaylen Brown, that dude's ripped.
Yoked.
He's a man.
He's 40.
Whoa. That dude's got a 12-pack. Not the 6-pack, the 12-pack. My God. He's ripped. But did you see who's on the cover of Time magazine? Jaylen Brown, everybody. How Jaylen Brown became the NBA's most interesting player. And Brad Stevens, who just turned to be the executive of the Boston Celtics, joined Jaylen Brown for a breakfast at the facility. And this was after the Eastern Conference Finals in a sweep. And then, obviously, him becoming the MVP of that, of what is the Eastern Conference Finals. But Jaylen Brown basically said the next 2 weeks are 2 big bleeping weeks. And he talks about that moment and then beating the Cavs in 5 and being named Finals MVP and putting up 21 points a game and 5 rebounds and 5 assists and 2 steals. He was relentless on defense. And it was thrilling for him. He talked about how everything that happened in his life and all the experiences he went through, he kept a journal. He wanted to keep a journal for his future experiences. And he talked about what happened with Team USA and being left off and Derek White being added to the team. But he didn't spend his offseason sulking. He started a nonprofit. His goal is to bring Black Wall Street. Right now, I believe it's going to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Right? This guy's doing a ton of things. But I do remember Stephen A. Smith, who we love on this show, always, calling out Jaylen Brown for not being marketable. Mentioning that one of the reasons why nobody likes the Celtics, or maybe they don't get the attention that they deserve, even though they were the best team in the league, is because of Jaylen Brown's marketability. I mean, you see Jason Tatum everywhere. Let's be honest. Jason Tatum's on the cover of NBA games, video games. He's on the cover of bags of chips, right? You've seen him in commercials now. There's no doubt about it. Jason Tatum's a super just a guy that you could market all over the place and across the NBA, and not to mention was the All-Star Game MVP. There was a lot there.
Would you like to hear that quote from Stephen A.
Yeah, let's
Smith,
hear Stephen A's quote.
Jaylen Brown, it's not so much that he's underrated. It's that he's just not liked because of his, quote, I am better than you attitude. He knows it. It's the same reason he is not as marketable as he should be. That's what an NBA source just sent me. I don't know that to be the case. I like Jaylen Brown. I know a lot of people that like Jaylen Brown. But, again, when you think about marketability, that's what that person was alluding to. Do y'all think there's any credence to that whatsoever in terms of the conversation that we're having?
Well, Stephen A., I love you, bro. You're welcome on this show anytime. Always welcome. So please don't think I'm going at you, bro. I'm not. But you said he wasn't marketable. You said there was something wrong with him. I don't know. Time magazine, that's pretty big sketch. And the last Celtic to be on the Time magazine, 40 years ago, Larry Bird. Larry bleeping Bird. Isn't that what Max calls him? Or Larry Joe Bird. Time magazine, Jaylen Brown. Not Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Think of what Brown's done this offseason. Yep. Won a championship, won the MVP, and what he's done. But he had a rap song this summer, all right? Whether you liked it or not, he did it. He just had his own sneaker brand. And it's meaningful. There's a lot behind it. And he turned down $50 million offers from other places. He's now mainstream, and there's no doubt about it. Jaylen Brown, captain. And you know what? If they had to name a captain's cast, I don't know if they will. Right? I don't know if they will. But if they did, would it be a problem if it was Jaylen Brown? Because I know it's about the both of them. It's about Brown and Tatum. They're a package deal. They can clearly win together. There's people trying to pull them apart. Think maybe name them both captains. I don't care. All I'm trying to say is one's a leader by example. The other is the vocal, emotional leader, and that's Jaylen Brown. And there's nothing wrong with that. We've said it for years. We don't need Jason Tatum to be a rah-rah guy. No, that's not who he is. And quite frankly, it's not who Jaylen Brown is either. He just does it with a certain swag. So, I don't know, being on Time Magazine, starting Black Wall Street, having your own sneaker brand, to me, I think the dude's made it. Like, I think he's pretty marketable now, and I think Stephen A. needs to bow down to that one.
Yeah. In Stephen A's defense, he said a source, and that's the best cop out.
Sources.
That's Radio 10 run right there. Someone sent this to me. Someone said this. I'm just relaying the message. But yeah, Time Magazine, I mean, tough to argue with that one. That's a pretty big deal. And on the captain thing, I mean, Joe, does it matter to me who's the captain of the Celtics? No, it matters 0.0%. But like you just mentioned, people are trying to pull them apart. You know, we would get the think tanks really firing off at the national media, as we like to say on this show, the national media clamoring that Tatum 5-time All-NBA can't be the captain. So I think the Celtics are smart enough to just avoid that discussion altogether and leave it as is. But Jaylen Brown, I mean, what more can you say about these guys? I've said it numerous times. You've said it numerous times. The Celtics are incredibly lucky that they have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown as the faces of their franchise. It's tough to think of two better guys in the entire league that you would want to be at the forefront of your franchise.
Guy got one of the biggest contracts in history. Had it at one point. Is there anybody more philanthropic than this guy in the league? Right?
And he's also a guy who's consistently gotten better. He got the money, and he works hard. I mean, you were just mentioning how jacked he looks. He shows up every offseason better, determined, more into it. These guys are ready to go. They're motivated by this offseason. So we talk about guys that get contracts and get a little fat and happy. That's certainly not the case with the Celtics and with Jaylen Brown.
I care about what guys do on the basketball court, and this guy has obviously gotten better. But if you read this story, it's 18 minutes long, by the way. This guy's learning how to speak Spanish and Arabic. He's learning so much more, learning how to run businesses. He's a very intelligent guy with a lot of intellect, outside passions as well. But he's fueled by negative influence, by his basketball performance, not by his life decisions. It's a really good story. Check it out, Time Magazine. But Jaylen Brown has made it, man, for a guy that sources said wasn't marketable. It's a guy that's won a championship, so philanthropic, turned down big deals, was literally dragged through the mud with Team USA because of a sneaker deal. And that's a fact. That happened. He was boycotted by his peers, by the way. But he's coming back with an even bigger chip on his shoulder this year. Great article if you get a chance to see it. He's got a great peacoat, too. I want that. That green peacoat with the black collar. Oh. Who made that? By the way, do you know who wrote this story? Look at the front cover. Tell me if you see the name of the person who did. Because that was pretty interesting to me as well. I'll tell everybody who can't see it, because you're in your cars or not, written by Colin Kaepernick. Just thought that was fairly interesting.
Mine says Sean Gregory, but maybe we're not looking at the same thing.
Yeah, well, I saw a Colin Kaepernick note in there. Maybe they collaborated. But just thought that was fairly interesting. Anyways, we got a special guest coming up on the other side. We'll tell you who that is right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. On the way on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
All right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. We're with you for about another hour or so here on The Sports Hub. We were just talking about Jaylen Brown on the front cover of Time Magazine. We'll get into more of Jaylen Brown coming up in just a little bit. But let's go to the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline. Let's talk with UMass basketball coach Frank Martin joining us here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Coach, how you doing today? How's you getting ready for the season?
Yeah, man, I can't wait. I'm actually driving from Boston back to Amherst. I was in town recruiting, and man, I can't tell you how thankful I am for giving me a couple minutes to talk about UMass.
Oh, Frank, I'm a big fan of yours. I was talking to Skaz. He's the guy that just called you. I've been following you for years, man. I'm a friend of Mike Uva. All right. When you were at South Carolina. I'm a friend of Andy Wong of the Kowloon. So last year, okay, so this is like we're your people, coach. You know what I'm saying? So I know about you. I know about your game and your players, and I watched you guys in Hawaii last year, though. So I follow the team. Maybe you can give some of our listeners. You just said you were recruiting, right? How is it recruiting for UMass compared to some of the other spots you've been at?
Man, it's been great. To be honest, I mean, UMass is still a brand. I mean, I get the fact that it hasn't lived up to the Calipari days in a while, and who knows if it ever will. That's how great those days were. But UMass is still a national brand. We go in to recruit guys in Dallas, Texas, and Boston, and New York, and Florida. And people respond to that UMass brand, and so I'm excited. I'm excited for the guys we got in the program right now. I'm excited. We won 20 last year. You don't win 20 games by being some genius. You win 20 games because you got good players, and so I'm jacked up, man. I can't wait to put this team on the court.
And you won 20 games because you got a good coach, so give yourself a little bit of credit there. And single game tickets, by the way, will go on sale tomorrow morning. That is right at 10 o'clock, so get your tickets. But I know you've had some movement on your roster this year. Some guys have transferred out. You got a couple of guys still hanging around, but maybe you can kind of give us a little bit of your thoughts on UMass this year after winning 20 games last year.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's this moment we're all in college athletics. Transferring, it's just part of the deal. It's we can't sit around and pout. It's going on everywhere in every sport. And heck, Ivy League schools are losing their players. That tells you how wild this is right now. But it is what it is. I'm not mad about it. And we're actually fortunate. We returned 7 players, which is almost unheard of in today's day and age, including in that is the most improved player in the A-10, Rasul Diggins, who's an absolute stud. Jalen Curry, who was a starting point guard for USA Basketball at 16 and under, won a gold medal in the World Championships. And he's going into sophomore year. He was one of the top 4 or 5 freshmen in the league last year. We returned Daniel Hankins Sanford, a young man transferred from South Carolina who we had signed down there, and a couple other guys that were integral parts. They weren't great stat guys. But then we went out. We had the number 1 recruiting class in the Atlantic 10 in the fall. And then in the spring, we went out and got Daniel Rivera, who's an established Division I guy that's averaged 15 and 10 in college basketball. Akil Watson, who's a transfer from Arizona State, who's a top 70 high school recruit coming out of New York City. We signed leading dunker and shot blocker in junior college basketball, Shahid Muhammad. We brought in a transfer from Murray State who I should have come to us the year before, and Ahmed Abdelgawad, who's going to be a really, really good player for us. We're big. It's my best team I've had since I've been here. We're athletic. we're competitive, man. It's a team that's starting to connect with my personality, so I'm really excited about it.
Oh yeah, you're a passionate guy. We've seen you on the sideline before. Very colorful. So that's one thing we love about you. And we're talking with UMass basketball coach Frank Martin here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Can you tell the story about how you came to UMass? I know your wife was involved in it, but what eventually made you come to UMass to coach the basketball team?
Well, I met John Calipari when I was coaching high school basketball in the 90s, and he came down as the UMass coach to recruit one of our guys. And because of that, I started following UMass basketball and the way they played. Then I come to Northeastern in the early 2000s, 2004. I met my wife while we were both working at Northeastern. She's a UMass grad. She was Anya Forrest. She was a record holder. Atlantic 10 champion. She was the 110 hurdler. She was a star. And she was in school during those years when they were the Calipari years. So through her, I learned about how incredible her experience was here as a student athlete. And now you hit fast forward, and I've been fortunate. I've had success in the world of coaching, and Ryan Bamford reached out to us to see if we would donate money to redo the track locker room for women's track. And I told my wife, I said, you got to do this. So we came up. This was 2016. We came up. She made the donation. The locker room's named after her back then. The last thing I ever thought was that I was going to one day coach UMass. But like it works in this business, my time in South Carolina came to an end. Ryan Bamford called me like the day after I got fired. I wasn't ready to talk. My brain was still scrambled. He said, I'm going to give you 3 days. This was like on a Friday. He goes, I'm going to give you 3 days. I had to do television over the weekend. And he goes, I'm going to call you again on Monday. Let's revisit. So he called me on Monday. By Monday, I was prepared now to talk. And away we went, man. And, it was an emotional time for me personally because I'd never been fired for not winning. It's the first time that ever happened to me in my life. 42 years I've been on the sideline. So it was an emotional moment to know that I was still wanted, especially at a place that wants basketball to be good. And then, my daughter's born in Massachusetts. I got married in Massachusetts. My wife graduated from the university. We just to go back to where my college career started in the state of Massachusetts, it was a powerful moment for our family, and super excited to be here.
Really great story there, Coach Martin. And I got to ask you, I know that the Atlantic 10 and UMass, they go back forever, right? The MAC in 2025, just how do you prepare for that change when you move on to different conferences?
I mean, we've got Division I football, and look what's happening. Oregon's playing like at Maryland or something for conference games. It's crazy. I get the fact that our marriage to the A-10 is powerful, and it's got a lot of history in it. I understand, but you know what? Temple moved on. Xavier moved on. All these other, West Virginia, Rutgers, all these schools have moved on for one common reason, with the exception of Xavier. They all had Division I football, and it was time to do something else. And our time has come. And college athletics is in a transitory moment right now. And you have the schools that have Division I football, and you have the schools that don't. And I don't know where this is headed. It might be a great divide. I have no idea. I hope not, but that's a strong possibility. And we have to figure out a way in this moment where there's so much movement, so much reorganizing of college athletics to align ourselves with somewhere that's going to give our whole university an opportunity for all our sports to succeed. And I fully understood it, and I'm excited for the change. And I just wanted to make sure that as men's basketball, that we didn't go backwards. Yep. And we're not. That's why we're scheduling West Virginia, Arizona State, Temple back on the schedule, Florida State. That's why we're scheduling those kind of games in non-conference play, because that's the UMass brand, and those are the kind of games that we have to play regardless of what conference we're a part of.
Well, that's why we want you here on the flagship of the Boston Celtics, right? People are dying for college basketball around here. You mentioned the great days with UMass. You know, we've seen BC have some runs. We've seen some other schools here have a little bit of a run, but I think people are starving for college basketball. When I heard Frank Martin was going to UMass, I popped. I think people are I think people are really looking for that. You guys have a game coming up, right? Like somewhat of a charity game against Providence. Is that correct?
Yeah. We, it's October already. It's unbelievable. We're 7 practices in. We have one of those scrimmages against Iona that's close to the public, and then October 26th, we're at Providence. Kim English, who I've known since he was a high school kid, crazy, and he's been unbelievable, the job he's done as a coach. They're going to be top 20 team in the country, and it's going to be a great opportunity for us to I'm so thankful they gave us the chance to compete against them, even though it's an exhibition, and I'm not going into that game with the purpose of winning. I'm in the purpose of discovering about my team, because last time I checked, nobody keeps track of exhibition games as far as one loss and RPI and nets. But at the same time, I can't wait to take the court, man, with our guys. It'd probably be 14,000 people there, and and just walk into adversity, and let's take it head on, man, and let's figure out who we are and be excited, because second game of the year, we're at West Virginia. That one does count. So we'll be prepared for the environment based on that experience against Providence.
Just a quick question. Do you know Joe Mazzulla? You just mentioned West Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
What, you got any good stories about Joe Mazzulla?
Now that he won a championship, I should share some of the ones I know, because he's got protection. But Joe, I'll say this, because I listen. I'm not one of these coaches that says I don't pay attention to the media. I do. I have to deal with the media, so I have to listen to it. And during his first year, I heard media members saying that he was intimidated, that he didn't know how to handle people. Let me tell you something. Joe would fight 2 grizzly bears just to see what the experience would feel like. Joe's one of the realest, not selfish, but selfless people I've come across. He was an unbelievable leader as a player. I know that for a fact. His dad, may he rest in peace, was a man's man. And I'm not surprised that Joe's having the success that he has, and I'm a huge fan of Joe Mazzulla. He's going to have an incredible career as a basketball coach, and the fact that I'm in Massachusetts and I didn't grow up a Celtics fan, but I respect the heck out of the Celtics, and now that I'm here and I know Joe, go Celtics. Let's get that done.
Joe, a friend of the program as well here. We can all have dinner at Kowloon together sometime. You know what I mean? That'd be a nice little way to break bread together. I'd have a lot of fun.
Well, hey, Andy's a big wrestling guy.
He is?
Me and Joe versus 2 WWE guys. Celebrity match. Let's get it done.
Oh, I am going to WrestleMania with Andy this year. I'm going to see him in a little bit, so I'm going to tell him that. Oh, I like this. This is a good one.
Let's organize it. We'll raise some money for charity.
We are in for it. Speaking of raising some money, let's get these tickets going. They go on sale tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, pre-sale for UMass basketball. He's Frank Martin. Frank, we'd love to have you on more throughout the year. And good luck. Good luck with the game against Providence. I know you don't care who wins, but, I got one more for you. When I make my trip up to UMass, it's either the Hangar or Antonio's. You got a favorite up there?
I'll tell you what, if you sit on the bench, I'll buy dinner at wherever you want.
He's Coach Frank Martin, UMass basketball. Frank, thanks for joining us, man, and best of luck this season.
Appreciate the time. Thank you.
You got it. Coach Frank Martin of UMass, who shared some good Joe Mazzulla stories, which we like. And, hey, you know what? I'll sit on the bench. I'll go hang out. I'll show Coach Martin around if he wants. I mean, I don't go up to Amherst often, but I'll tell you. That Hangar, unbelievable buffalo wings. And the Antonio's pizza, whoo. You just got to know UMass. You get a little Joe Mazzulla there, huh?
Yeah, I'm a big Frank Martin guy. I was a big Frank Martin guy before the interview, but certainly now.
Yeah, I've always loved this guy. When they got him, I popped. And again, my buddy Mike Uve is up in South Carolina, so I've always known about. I've watched a lot of South Carolina basketball in my day. I don't want to tell him all that information yet, though.
I know the one thing I really wanted to ask him, but we were heavy UMass. I wanted to ask him about Michael Beasley.
Oh yeah,
but we'll get him back.
We'll have him back on.
UMass deserves the praise.
Yeah.
They're Rasul Douglas is legit. They got some real players. They're going to be good this year.
I know. The thing is, Skaz, you know what? This is a pro sports town, but on this show, I want to do college sports.
And we welcome everybody, Joe.
Everybody. Always. All right, we got to hit the headline here. Thanks for Coach Martin joining us here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
All right, hanging up.
league.
All right, back here in 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. Here for about another 45 minutes or so. If you want to call in, 617-779-0985. Let's talk to Andrew. He's been hanging out in Milton. What's up, Andrew?
Hey, Joe. First off, go UMass. But second, when I heard you mention what are you going to eat when you go out there, two great spots. You mentioned Antonio's and the Hangar, can't miss. But I got another one for you. It's called Bub's Barbecue. The setup they got going on is crazy. You get your ribs, your brisket, or whatever you get, and then the sides, you get unlimited sides. They're set up in like a salad bar type deal, and you can just load up on mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, potato salad, the works, and it's unlimited. It's the best barbecue I've ever had.
I'm looking at it right now.
And they also got soup, and that's like a soup bar too, and it's you got to go, man. You got to go, please. And then get on air and talk about it. I want to hear your review. Have a nice night, man. Go Pats. Go UMass.
Okay, cool. Thanks for calling in to tell me where to eat.
Little role reversal there, Joe.
Yeah,
Usually it's you telling the people where to eat. And now you got someone telling you where to eat.
That was different. It's I clicked on the website and it said pig out in style, which I like to do. I like to pig out in style. It's one of my favorites. All right, the Kansas City Royals won. Bing, bang, boom. The Baltimore Orioles are eliminated. So much for their season, huh? The Royals and the Red Sox were flirting at the end of the year for the playoffs. Can you believe that? And now they're moving on. Well, anyways, I wanted to bring up this story. You guys may remember this one. When Tom Brady was leaving the Patriots and wanted to play for another team, there was a famous quote, if you remember. It was Brady basically talking about, you're sticking with that mother bleeper. I don't think we've ever found out who that guy was. But now I'm thinking about it. The other night when he said the two teams that I was interested in were the Bears and the Bucks, could he have been talking about Mitch Trubisky? Just, I'm trying to follow the breadcrumbs here, you know? Just, some people thought it might have been Ryan Tannehill or Derek Carr or one of those guys. So, was it their top draft pick, Mitch Trubisky? I don't know. I want to ask him. Maybe somebody else can. But it would all make sense, right? He mentioned Chicago was a team, very stealth in their recruitment, blah, blah, blah. And I'm wondering if that's what it was. The Bears did stick with Mitch Trubisky in 2020. They did add Nick Foles to the roster, by the way. Oh, it all came full circle there, huh? Can Kevin Burkhardt get in on that one? Can he find out who the mother bleeper was? So we can finally close the book on that one? Because we've been waiting on that one for a really long time. And if it was Mitch Trubisky, he's got himself a nice job playing behind Josh Allen right now. One of the quarterbacks that's still in the league that was drafted in the because not a lot of these guys get second contracts. I think Mitch Trubisky got one with the Steelers and now Buffalo. Not a lot of those guys hang around in the league. 617-779-0985. Just wanted to bring up a receiver we'll see this weekend. Did he make the right decision? Would you rather win championships or the money? We'll do that coming up next. I'm Joe Murray here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. Mets are already up 1-0. Oh, I lied. It's 1-1 now. Never mind. Oh, jeez. 2 for 2 so far, guys. Got 2 more to go. Riding the team that won game 1 is going to win game 2. They're now 16-2. I believe that's 89%, but that would be Joe math if we really wanted to get into the weeds of that one. But I get the Mets tonight. And I get the Padres later. So we'll see how that. And you don't want to bet baseball. It's a dangerous game. It's a very dangerous game. Speaking of dangerous games, would you rather stay somewhere and win multiple championships and be paid okay? Or go out and get the bag and try to compete for a championship? Someone that the Patriots will see this weekend, Tyreek Hill, who's had success against the Patriots, but overall has been at times also shut down. He has had touchdowns, don't get me wrong. But for the most part, Jonathan Jones has done a really nice job defending Tyreek Hill. But when it comes to Tyreek Hill, who got a bag this year, some big money coming off-season surgery, did he make the right decision leaving the Chiefs for Miami? Skaz and I talked about this earlier. Sometimes people just want to win. They're happy with winning. They don't need to go elsewhere. They just want to win. And then some people want the money. And so when I said it to Skaz earlier, I said, he could have stayed, could have won more championships. And you looked at me straight dead in the eye and you said, the money, Joe. And I forgot who I was talking about here. It's Tyreek Hill. So, does he really care?
But it's the NFL, Joe, and I think that's the big thing for me. In that league where guaranteed money is so important for these guys and the shelf life of their careers is so short, you have to take the money. And Tyreek Hill's a guy that already won a ring. He was going to a good Dolphins team. It's not like he was being shipped off to a terrible Raiders team like Devontae Adams, or he was going to be A.J. Green on the Bengals for a decade. He's an established guy that already won a ring. Obviously not a fan of Tyreek Hill, the person at all, but you can't fault a guy in that league for taking the money.
Well, Stephen A. Smith had a little something on that. Who else? I swear, when is he coming on the show? How do I get Stephen A. on the show? Actually, I know a guy. I don't know why I haven't thought about this yet. And if that guy's listening, hit me up. All right, this is, what is this, First Take or whatever. The discussion is, did Tyreek Hill make a terrible decision? Let's hear it.
You damn right it was a mistake for him to leave Patrick Mahomes. I want to say this. If we want to talk money, there's nothing to talk about. $120 million contract, $72 million guaranteed, making him the highest paid receiver at the time. I'm saying business is business. I'm talking football, y'all, which y'all know a hell of a lot better than me as former players, okay? Here's the reality. When you take into account the kind of rhetoric that was coming out of Tyreek Hill's mouth, June of 2022, obviously, I'm going to go with 15 as the strongest arm, but as far as accuracy-wise, I'll go with Tua all day long. November 2023, they're neck and neck. Those guys are neck and neck. Tua is obviously my boy Tua. I mean, you look at him right now. He's slowly changing people's minds as we speak. At this rate, going up to this year, I would say Tua is the better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. These are the words that came out of Tyreek Hill.
Oh, wait, whoa. Just want to make sure that wasn't Stephen A. saying that. Those are the words that were coming out of Tyreek Hill's mouth. That Tua, he said Tua was better than Patrick Mahomes?
That's his quarterback.
Tua!
Got to defend your guy, Joe. Now, you almost did a hawk Tua right there.
I'm sorry. Although I did say that Tua Tagovailoa is the MVP of the Dolphins, whoa. I'm not buying that one, but let's continue to hear Stephen A.
Mouth. Now, this is a man that was a star wide receiver, the cheater, absolutely electric. You're Patrick Mahomes. You could throw it deep or you could dip and dunk it with him. It didn't matter. When you put the ball in Tyreek Hill's hands, big things happen. I understand that Kansas City has won 2 Super Bowls since Tyreek Hill has been gone. But if you're Tyreek Hill right now, tell me definitively, strictly on football levels, guys, can you look at a guy like Tyreek Hill and tell me who made a bigger mistake in terms of leaving their old team? You look at Tua right now, his career's in jeopardy. They can talk about how he's okay and he's passing every test and he's going to be all right and he ultimately is going to be back. One hit at this point can end everything for him. We had conversations ad nauseum throughout various shows over the last several weeks as to whether or not this man should retire right now. That is what they're saying about Tua Tagovailoa. You're Tyreek Hill. You walked away from Patrick Mahomes. You walked away from Andy Reid. And now the Miami Dolphins look like hot garbage because they don't have their quarterback, Tua, who you cannot rely upon because his durability due to the concussions is simply not something that you can rely on.
Facts. He walked away from Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid for the Dolphins, bro. No, I get it. He got paid. He got his money. He got his money. Can you think of it? Has that happened to anybody else? I'm just trying to think, like, Patriots-wise, they never really had a star receiver, right? Like, nobody was a star left, you know? Trying to think of teams like that. No, there's no one else. That is... I'll have to think about it.
Like Adams left when Rodgers left, right?
Yep.
I'm trying to think if Peyton had a guy. Harrison and Wayne were there pretty much the whole time.
Yep, Wayne was washed. Eli had, Plaxico Burress at the time, but there's no. There's nobody comparable. Dude left the Chiefs for the money.
Joe, would you rather, live in Kansas City and not get paid as much, or live in Miami and get paid a lot more?
Well, it's not fair, Skaz. That doesn't help my argument.
Just asking the questions.
Would Skaz, I would rather the money
and the beach
and live in Florida.
Little tax break there as well.
Yeah. Some of the best food and empanadas I've ever had in my life. Go to Little Havana. I go to Versailles. I go meet my man Yasel, who works there. He hooks me up with my Cuban food. The best orange juice you can get. Stay at the Edition Hotel. Hang out. Get myself a little cabana every day. Have someone serve me with a little drink in it.
I think Tyreek Hill's doing just fine.
I think he's doing, again, Kansas City winning championships or Miami and the money. Oh. Imagine if that guy stuck around and won all those championships. He'd have Hall of Fame on him.
He's probably already got Hall of Fame on him. I think his 2 statistical best seasons have been in Miami.
True. And it's starting to look like Tua Tagovailoa meant a lot to Tyreek Hill. A lot. Well, what does the injury now to David Andrews mean for one Drake May? We'll talk about that coming up here on the other side. If you want to react to the Devontae Adams stuff, the Tyreek Hill stuff, the Patriots this weekend, the Jaylen Brown story. We had Coach Frank Martin from UMass on tonight. There's still the Celtic stuff. 1 year ago today, or yesterday, was the Drew Holiday trade. They play on Friday in Abu Dhabi, so I'm excited for that. The Bruins, of course, with the Swayman stuff still on the table. We got another half hour to go. I'm Joe Murray here on the Sports Hub.
WBZ-FM and HD Boston.
Patriots!
From the opening kickoff to the final play.
Touchdown!
Your home of the pass.
Yes.
98.5 The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
All right, Patriots preparing for the Dolphins this Sunday and Tyreek Hill. See if someone can throw him the ball. Tyler Huntley is going to be the guy who's going to try to do that this week. But the Pats are going to have to do it without David Andrews, who's going to miss the rest of the season. He's dealing with a shoulder injury. Baseball playoffs, 2 games already in the books. Tigers beat the Astros, eliminated them 5-2. And the Royals have eliminated the Baltimore Orioles with a 2-1 win tonight Right now, top of the second inning, Mets and Brewers tied at 1. 8:30 tonight, Padres and Braves. And coming up in just a little bit, you got the Houston Dynamo and New England Revolution here on the Sports Hub. The Revs fighting for a playoff spot. Headlines, they are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Joe Murray. Your next update, well, tomorrow.
Boston's best sports talk. There's an app for that. Download the Sports Hub app for loads of stuff. Absolutely free. Connect with the shows, get podcasts, and more. Get it where you get your apps. Or at 985sportshub.com.
Back there, 98.5, the Sports Hub. Drake, you ready? So, Skaz, we've been doing Maywatch pretty much all summer long. Now we're in the fall. It's October 2nd. And now it's everywhere. The Maywatch, Baywatch. I thought we started it. Everyone's doing it now. I don't know. I thought we had it first. Baywatch. We're close to Drake May. I can feel it. Because I think Jacoby Brissett's starting to really suck. And hey, Jacoby, I like you, bro. I like you. You're getting $8 million to be a pinata. You're getting the crap kicked out of you. And you keep getting back up. But when are we going to see Drake May? And I'll tell you right now, this injury to David Andrews, I don't think it's going to speed it up. I don't think it's going to. These guys didn't even work together in camp. It is so irresponsible, by the way. This is a whole NFL take real quick. How can you be the Miami Dolphins and not have a viable backup when you have Tua Tagovailoa as your quarterback? Mike McDaniel should be fired for that alone. Or whoever the GM is. Out. Dumb. Right? The Patriots, if Tom Brady went down, you always had someone ready to go. Whether it was Matt Castle or Jimmy Garoppolo. You always did. Brian Hoyer could run the offense if he had to. I mean, Carson Wentz would take over the Chiefs. And I know that people are going, blah, but you still have Andy Reid who's worked with him. They also have Bailey Zappi, too, which is still my guy. But it would be irresponsible. Why is it in this league that the Vikings can get their starter hurt and still be 4-0? How is it that the Green Bay Packers and their quarterback can go down and still win games? How is it? How do these teams do this? Aaron Rodgers goes down last year. You have Zach Wilson, and they completely fell apart. Well, actually, they weren't that bad. He was just bad. It's a crime. The other thing is this. The Patriots don't have a veteran ready to go. They have left it open that if something happens to Jacoby Brissett, it's Drake May right away. I want to see Drake May. I want to see him play. I don't know how much he's getting in development watching Jacoby Brissett do this, but this is not the week. It could have been the week. If you wanted it to be, it could have been. You're going to run every play. Why even bother? You're going to run. And if they pack the box, Drake May can sneak one by you. But this David Andrews thing, It's getting tougher now for Patriots quarterbacks. And it's going to affect Drake May. And Gerard Mayo even talked about it this week. But I just wanted to throw some numbers out here about how bad Jacoby Brissett is. Completion percentage, expected completion percentage. There's 33 quarterbacks that are eligible for this. It's from NetGen Stats. Trevor Lawrence is horrible at 61%. Jacoby Brissett is 32nd in the league at 61%. And when it comes to like intended air yards per attempt, Jacoby Brissett's 6 yards per attempt. It's 26th in the league. He's just not getting the job done. He's not the right guy. And I get it. If you put Drake May out there, he's going to be behind a bad offensive line, but I wonder if his ability can help the offensive line. Yeah, he'll take the hits. What week is this going to happen? There's no perfect scenario here. I'm still calling it right now. I think it's going to be Mac Jones, Drake May, London. Book it. Woof. Your thoughts at 617-779-0985. Oh, yeah, here's a good one. Brendan's in Grafton. Hey, Brendan.
Oh, hey, Joe. Hey, man, love the show, but I really got to fact-check you on something. I think you said, and correct me if I'm wrong because I'm willing to have this conversation, you said no one has ever left the Patriots for more money. Deion Branch, bro. How many more Super Bowls would the Pats have if Deion Branch was on the field getting catches from Tom Brady, bud? Come on.
That was 06, which is right. You can fact check me all you want. It was from a long time ago, but just know the circumstance. It was 2006.
Yep.
He wanted a new contract. They ended up trading him. They went with Riche Caldwell, Jabbar Gaffney.
Yeah.
They went to the AFC Championship game and lost to the Colts, not because they didn't have receivers, because Eric Alexander was traded.
No. Joe, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll pause.
No.
Go ahead.
No.
Give me a minute.
Watch the game. Eric Alexander chased Dallas Clark around the field all day long. Now, did Riche hang on a second. Did Riche Caldwell drop a ball or not? Did he drop a ball or not? Riche Caldwell dropped the ball.
Riche Caldwell had one go through his nuts, buddy.
Yes. One play. But listen, it was the defense that blew that game. I'm telling you right now. I bet the game. I lost. I know.
No. Joe, go ahead, bud. I'll sit.
Guys, I know that game. Whenever I tell you what's the worst loss I ever had in my life, what do I tell you it is? What do I tell you? 06 AFC Championship game against the Colts. So he can fact check me that. Thank you for bringing up a name that they didn't want to pay, that went elsewhere, by the way, and got paid, and then somehow found his way back, right? Because they didn't want to pay him either? Yeah, they lost the 06 championship because of their defense. They ran out of gas. And yes, they would have made it to the Super Bowl with two bum receivers. I still see Peyton Manning torching them in the second half. I can still see it. Yes, a ball went through Riche Caldwell's hands. That's a fact. It happened. It happened. Do you want to sit here and say that if Malcolm Butler played in the Super Bowl, they'd win too? Should we do that too? Louis is in Amesbury. Hi, Louis.
Hey, boys. Happy Wednesday. Sitting out by the fire, just like I told you, producer. And something just came to me. I don't know if it's been talked about. Do you think Drake May wants to play? Now, listen.
Yes.
He's a competitor. He looks like he's a moose. He's got a rocket for an arm. But the center goes down. Andrews goes down. You got my brother's playing left tackle. The girl at the freaking supermarket's playing left guard. I mean, I'm just asking. Does he want to play?
Yes.
You think? He goes home to his squeeze at night and goes, honey, I hope Jacoby freaking, throws 7 out of 14 this weekend. They keep him in there. I don't want to get my, chopped off.
I think he wants to play. Yeah, I do. I think he wants to play.
I don't know. I hope he does. We'll see what happens. Great show as always. Thanks, boys.
Thank you. Everything got amped up in the last half hour. What happened here? Like everyone's blood pressure just raised a little bit, huh? Yes, Deion Branch was a good comparison. Thank you. Thank you. But I'm still telling you, I watched that game. Peyton Manning became alive. You know what? I'm doing it. 2006 AFC Championship box score. I'm doing it. I'm going back in time. The Colts won 38-34. The Pats were up 21-6 at halftime. I know it for a fact. That day, Ben Watson led receivers 5 for 48. Riche Caldwell had 4 for 46. And Gaffney went 3 for 37. And Heath Evans had 4. Troy Brown had 2. Okay? What happened was Dallas Clark had 6 receptions for 137 yards. I didn't even have to look at the box score to remind you. Peyton Manning torched the defense. He went 27 of 47 for 400. So, yes, Deion Branch may have hurt him, but they lost because of their defense, not because of their receivers. And they would have smoked the Bears. Smoked them. Don't get me going on that one. Dallas Clark, 6 for 137. Reggie Wayne, 5 for 70. Marvin Harrison, 4 for 41. And then I'm looking, here it is. Who led the team in tackles for the Patriots? Eric Alexander. Why? Because he couldn't catch Dallas Clark. Did I say Dallas Clark? Yes, Dallas Clark. James Sanders at safety, second in tackles. Vince Wilfork had 7 that day. It was the defense. They were up 21-6. They blew it. Not because of Deion Branch. Can you believe Tom Brady got Ben Watson, Jabbar Gaffney, and Riche Caldwell to the AFC Championship game? All right, who was that running back? It was, all right, Corey Dillon. He's pretty good, right? Kevin Falk and Lawrence Maroney and Heath Evans. Brady had a big QB sneak that day, too. Damn, Peyton Manning. Anyways, we'll wrap this thing up here on the other side. I'm Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. More Joe Murray. On the way on 98.
All right, back here 98.5, the Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. Well, we rattled some cages there. Not sure what we're all yelling about. But I just wanted to clear something up quickly. Could the Patriots have used Deion Branch that year? Absolutely. But they lost that game because of their defense, and I stand by that. It was a fact. Here's another one. I think the loss of Adam Vinatieri was bigger than Deion Branch. The Patriots, year in and year out, would just franchise Adam Vinatieri, the guy who won 3 championships. All he wanted was a long-term deal. Yep, franchising him gave him the most money at the position, but he wanted guaranteed money. He wanted upfront money, and the Crafts wouldn't do it, or Belichick wouldn't do it. I'm going to say it was the Crafts because it helps my argument. But anyways, that hurt more than anything because in 2007, in the Super Bowl, they decided not to go for a field goal because they didn't trust their rookie kicker, Steven Gostkowski. They certainly would have trusted Adam Vinatieri inside a dome. So don't give me Deion Branch, because I will give you Adam Vinatieri, who should be a Hall of Famer, by the way. Go read our article over at 985thesportsup.com. Damn it. Vinatieri was bigger for that group than Deion Branch. Fact. Russ is in the car. Hey, Russ.
Hey, Joe. Love your show.
Thanks, buddy.
Hey, listen, I got a question for you. Why isn't the Pats scouting department taking serious heat for the talent that they put on the field this year? There's 775 college and universities in this country that play football. They've got the UFL, they've got the Canadian Football League, they've got the German Football League. They got all these places to find talent more and better than what we have. So why don't I hear anyone, bitching about the scouting department?
Oh, we do. I mean, look at their draft picks, right? Cole Strange was awful. I mean, I think that was Belichick. I always go back to the N'Keal Harry draft. You drafted N'Keal Harry, Joanne Johnson, and Chase Winovich. You're talking a wide receiver, a corner, and a pass rusher, which were 3 premier positions, right?
And they were all bad.
And they whiffed on all of them.
All of them. But even now, I don't get it. I mean, there's all these schools that have kids to play football. Why can't we find 2 tackles out of probably 3,000 or 4,000 kids that play football? Why can't we find 2 tackles better than what we have?
Because this year they prioritized a wide receiver and a quarterback when they needed tackle. 9 went off the board. 9 went off the board before they drafted Polk.
Right, but I'm not even talking about the NFL draft. I mean, I know there's 200 and some odd players drafted, but there's got to be a lot of players that weren't drafted that were better than what we have right now on the field.
I agree with you there.
Why can't we find them?
I don't know. Russ, I don't know. But you would think that all these other teams that find tackles, like Joe Alt was available. Right. I mean, I know he's hurt for the Chargers, but could they have traded back and got him and then got their quarterback next year? I don't know. I mean, I still would have rather have had Drake May in the long run.
Oh, no. I mean, I totally agree with that. Now, they needed a quarterback, but
Russ,
they also needed a
what they're doing? They're just tanking on the year. That's what they're doing. They'll get their tackle in the draft next year, but they might lose some of us. They already lost me as a season ticket holder.
Well, they lost me too, but they're going to need more than 1 tackle in the draft next year.
They're going to need 2 in the free agency and 1 in the draft, bro. They're going to need 4 linemen.
But I still don't get it. That they've got all these schools out there. The kids didn't get drafted. I mean, there's talent out there if people are willing to look for it that didn't get drafted.
Listen, they did it for years when they had Tom Brady, and appreciate you, Russ. Tom Brady covered up all the deficiencies that the Patriots had. Are we just learning that now? October 2nd, 2024, we are all realizing that here's the deal. We keep records of what the Patriots are without Tom Brady. We're now keeping records of how the Patriots are without Bill Belichick. They're 1-3. They're 1-3. Topher, hi.
Hey, Joe. How are you?
Things got a little heated there in the last hour.
You know, I got a little nervous when I got back in the car and some guy was talking about something about Drake May's thing getting chopped off. I got concerned.
Yes, I know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oof, that's a May watch right there.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if the Pats lose this week and it's because of their offense, it's time to make the move.
Can I ask you a real big question that, like, I myself have been asking myself every time I hear a Patriots fan talk about, like, you know, the season and how they're disappointed? What shocks them right now that gets them really riled up? When they signed Jacoby Brissett, nobody was really excited. Nobody did backflips. You know, you knew the offensive line needed work. They didn't sign the offensive tackles. They didn't sign what they needed. They were still going with what they had. Where did anybody think that sprinkling fairy dust and Gerard Mayo coming in was going to make a very good product on the field? Because I asked a friend of mine a question the other day. What was more exciting to watch? The Patriots losing against San Francisco or the debate between the vice presidents?
Oh, boy.
It's a hard one, right?
And I hate politics.
I do too.
Anyways, the apple crisps the apple turnover you guys gave me was very good.
You like that?
Yeah, and the donut was fantastic. I put some of it in the middle of the donut hole and I ate it.
There you go. That was Mom that did that. She did the she did the pumpkin donut. Oh, that thing was good.
Tell Mama Hurley that Joe really appreciated it.
That I will indeed.
Thanks, Topher.
She'll be ecstatic.
Appreciate you, bud.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, bye. Topher came by the card show, gave me some apple turnover with a donut, and so I stuck the turnover in the donut hole and I ate it. True story. That happened. I was going to say something, and now I don't remember. What do we got going on tomorrow, Skess? We have in or outs for days.
I know. I haven't been here for an in or out in over a week, Joe. It's, we didn't have any this week. Couple of short shows, Bruins game, little Revs game tonight, so I'll be very excited for probably an extended edition of in or out tomorrow night. I believe we'll have Evan Lazar joining the show tomorrow night. We'll have a little NFC South divisional football, Thursday night football, a little Falcons-Bucks game. So, yeah, some more playoff baseball. It's a lot going on in the sports world right now.
Mets are up 3-1, Skess.
Yeah, they're riding the guys that won game one.
Rolling.
Let's hope the Padres can keep it going later tonight.
Keep it rolling, baby. We'll have bets through tomorrow night. Anybody betting on the Revs tonight? No? Love those soccer bets. The Revs are coming up next. They're fighting for a playoff spot as well. So stay tuned. Big thanks to Joe, our intern, tonight. We posted a photo of him on our I'm Joe Murray Instagram page. So go check that out. Thank you, Skaz, for another good night. Thanks to Coach Frank Martin of UMass Basketball. I'm Joe Murray. We're back here tomorrow night. Thank you to everybody in our YouTube chat as well. Appreciate everyone's support. Ratings came out from the summer. Thank you all for listening at night. For James Caramazzino, I'm Joe Murray. Revolution